Hi everyone, welcome to Engineer by Design, where today I'm going to take you through the design of something that is going to be very simple. It looks interesting, maybe a little intricate in this handle, but the way that I want to show you guys how we're going to design it is going to be probably one of the simplest way to design things, at least in my opinion. Now, this is a bucket scraper slash spreader epoxy tool from RMC Plastics, and I want to give a little bit of a story as to how I found this. So, for my job, I had to contact a company that specializes in nano coating, and I'm not going to get into a lot of what that is, but essentially, nano coating is a special kind of coating that you can apply much like paint, that sort of helps with the resistance to corrosion and other things like that out in the field in like certain environments. And we had a service person come in and demonstrate to us how you apply a nano coat because it's something that the company that I work with wants to potentially look into doing in-house. And he was showing me this demonstration, and he had this very interesting tool that he actually used to scrape. Uh, how do I put this? Nano coat. The way that the company makes it, you have to mix two parts, part A and part B, mix it a little bit, and then you can apply it because a nano coat basically has to harden, and it comes out of like a paint bucket essentially. And you have to be very specific with your measurements. So you can't just pour it and then throw the buckets out because there's going to be a little bit left in those buckets. So they actually had this little scraper, and it wasn't from this company, I don't believe, but they had this little scraper that they used to get all of the paint, or not necessarily a paint, but either A or B out and into the bigger bucket that they mixed everything in. Excuse me. So I was speaking to the service guy. I'm like, that is such an interesting tool. Like, I've never seen anything like it. And we end up having like a conversation about this tool, and it's very good for like smaller buckets, or at least like buckets that don't come in like multi-gallon containers, or open buckets like you might find at like Home Depot or something. These are more so made for buckets with lips at the end that you can easily scrape out. Now, so I actually did ask him if I could take a picture of it and some measurements because I wanted to try to design it myself. And he said that is absolutely no problem. And he and I have been kind of working together on making this into potentially a product. However, if you read here, due to what it's constructed from, it has very good and excellent strength and chemical resistance. Unfortunately, something like PLA or ABS or TPU or something like that does not have great chemical resistance, unlike this polypropylene homopolymer. So it really can't be used in that application, but it can be used in applications where you are trying to scrape paints out of buckets. I did end up making some, and the gentleman picked them up and went back to his work to test them, where they actually left them in a solvent, and basically within an hour, I just gave him PLA. Within an hour, the PLA started delaminating and warping and everything. And once he took it out, he was able to use it just fine. But the material that you can 3D print with really isn't suited for solvents, essentially. It doesn't have great chemical resistance. You can actually look up here from Prusament.com, chemical resistance of 3D printing materials. And this right here, chemical resistance of commonly used 3D printing materials. PLA and PVB are not suitable for chemically aggressive environments such as acids, alcohols, and solvents. You might have better luck with TPU, PETG, ASA, or ABS, but then it goes into this however. But I think when you're talking with like specifically solvents that they use for something like nano coating, again, it's really not something that is going to be applicable in this situation. But if you're just looking to scrape paint out of a bucket, you could really make it out of whatever you want. You'll you'll see, like, if you end up making this yourself, that these essentially like cost like maybe 25 cents worth of material to make one. So with that being said, enough talking. I'm sure you guys are tired of it. Let's go into our modeling software, which is going to be Autodesk Fusion 360, and I'll show you a very, very simple way of how to make it, which is going to be with canvases. So like I mentioned, I printed out, or not printed out, I took a picture of the specific one that this gentleman uses, and I ended up making a design out of it. So I'm going to insert from my computer. I'm going to go, I believe I saved it to the desktop. Yep, there we go, inked, and I'm going to open, and I'm going to place it right here. And if you look, there it is right there in all its glory. This right here in blue, there was actually a, how do I put this? Not how do I put this. There's a company logo and phone number and everything, so I chose to just kind of leave it out. I didn't really want to put that in this video. So all I'm going to do is hit OK. And I'm going to go over, come on. There we go. I'm going to go over this way, and I'm going to model off the back. As you can see, I took a picture of a tape measure on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to create sketch on this plane. We're going to take a line from here all the way to here. And you want it to be exactly 9 inches. So then when we measure it, it's 0.478. So what we're going to do is we're going to finish sketch, and we're going to delete the sketch just because we don't really need it. We're going to open this back up, and we are going to scale this. So to scale it, we can grab here and move it up and down, or you can hit scale plane XY. And we want the final dimension to be 9 inches, so we're going to hit 9 here. But we don't want it to scale by 9 because that just takes the 0.478, I believe, and it's going to multiply by 9. So what we're going to do is we are going to take 9 and divide it by 0.478. And that is going to be our final dimension. And if we do a create sketch here, we're going to take this line and again go from this point to this point. And as you can see right there, excuse me, inspect the lines, 9.006 inches, which is totally fine for what we're going to do. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to create this entire profile using lines and splines. Lines and splines. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to do the really simple one. We're going to take a line, put it from here to here, and then from here to here. And we can kind of move this around. For something like this, I'm not as concerned. Oh, I'm going to delete this right there. Something like this, I'm not really as concerned of getting like everything defined because we don't really need to in this situation. So now what I'm going to do, so because I followed this curvature essentially, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow this curve specifically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to fit point spline, and I'm going to hit here, and I'm just going to start following this curve. I don't really feel the need to be all that exact, and even when it turns this other direction, I just kind of move it to follow this curve. To get out of all this green stuff, you just hit escape and then click somewhere else on the screen. Now we're going to zoom in a little bit, and we're going to adjust this just to make it go kind of closer towards the edge. I'm not really concerned with making it like, see, like this is out here, but it could be right here. It's kind of going out, it's dipping in a little bit right there. I'm not really concerned about that because this is just going to be a handheld tool. I'm going to take another line and move from here down to here. Now what you can do is you can do curvature, and you can blend, you can blend this curve with this curve, but that creates like all sorts of weird geometries, and I'm not really a fan of that. What you can do instead is do a tangent of this to this, and again it creates a little bit of a weird one, but not as bad. So all you really have to do is just pull this final point down, and now you have a completely tangential spline fitting into the line. And then if you want, you can zoom out to make sure everything else is good. So now comes this handle part, this wavy little guy over here. And again, we're just going to do a fit point spline, and we're just going to follow this curvature. I understand that when you do something like a fit point spline, something that you might not want to do is create a ton of points. But for something like this, I'm not all that worried, just because it is going to be it's going to be this one sketch and we're done. And something that you will see is that you will have like weird stuff. Like if I hit a point right here, you'll see that there is a little bit of a gap. It was from here to here. But I find that if you just keep following the curvature of this, then it's going to end up working itself out. Okay, so we'll keep going. The distinction here between here and here, I can't really remember if this is a shadow or a part of this, but like I've said 1,000 times, I don't really believe it matters all that much, just because it's going to be a handle. And that's it. It's basically just going to be a handle. And I'm just going to stop it right there, and the reason I'm doing that is because I just want a straight line connecting these, and that's it. I'm going to do another tangent. Although these seem pretty tangential, I'm just going to do it just in case. And same thing over here. I'm going to make a tangent from here to here. And that looks pretty good. Only thing left is that we're just going to do a circle here. So I'm going to eyeball about the center of this, and I'm just going to bring this out. And I'm going to probably just call that good. I can move it around if I want, but I'm really just going to call that good. Now, if we go over here to this tree and we hit this little eyeball, it's going to actually make the canvas disappear. And now we have this outline essentially. So something you can also do is if you want to make this longer, you can grab this and just kind of bring it out and it'll change the length. But I think this is fine. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the solid tab, hit extrude. And because there are technically two closed sketches, this circle and this outer actual part, we're going to hit the outer part. And these things are fairly thin. I don't believe that it actually gives me a thickness on here. Let's see. Total length is 12.5, which ours is not. Handle is 5.5 inches. Blade is that. So it doesn't give us a thickness, so we'll go with something relatively thin. We'll maybe go 0.125. I think that should be good. For this, I don't really care if we have a direction. I'm just kind of making it go in one way. And that's pretty much it. One thing I am going to do is I'm going to take a fillet and I'm going to here and here because I want these ends to remain fairly sharp. Since we did 0.125, we'll just go 0.03 and just call that good. And that's pretty much it. Oh, one thing, this I usually like to make it nice and smooth. So we'll go with this. Let's try 0.0625, which is half of 1/8 of an inch. And that is good. That is our paint scraper. That's literally it. Like I said, the geometry, it didn't seem very complicated, but I know a lot of you guys who might be starting out in 3D modeling might be like, I don't know how to make those, how to design those. A lot of the time, when you design something fairly simple, it really is as simple as just take a picture of this thing, put it in your software using the canvas feature or the canvas tool in the insert tab, and just start having fun with it, start tracing the outlines, and eventually you can make it. This is something that I actually do a lot when I design things. For example, if I want to put a company logo on, say, a pen holder, which is a video for another day, I can do that. If I want to put my name on something, I can do that. Heck, something I do sometimes is I make coasters, and if there's a band I like, I might find the band logo or like maybe like a lyric that the band uses, and I use that. For something like that, for something more of a lyric, if you go into the create sketch, I'll just do this real quick. If you do something and go into the create sketch, you can hit this text and then you can just like write something and then like sketch it out from there. But it is not something that you really have to do. And I'm just going to get rid of that. So that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know this was a bit of a faster video, a bit of a shorter video. I tried to explain hopefully some stuff that you guys would understand. Because a lot of this stuff is used in the real world. A lot of the 3D designing and 3D printing I generally try to have it have real world applications. I don't really like to make things like for fun, just because, like, in my personal opinion, you can make something for fun and you can get a lot of enjoyment and you can get a lot of experience out of it. But if it's not something that's ever going to be applied in the real world, you're limited a lot by what you can learn from it. But that is just my opinion. If you guys like designing for fun, by all means, design for fun. It is all good. I know a lot of YouTube channels, they make these like large, intricate like 3D models, and there is a lot of information on those, which you can glean, which I do from time to time. I really think it helps me out. It's like I don't claim to know everything, guys, but so I always try to learn as much as I can from other people. But I'm kind of talking without stopping. So thank you very much for enjoying. I don't know if I'm gonna put these up on my Etsy page or not. I am still considering it. Hopefully, I'll be able to put a link to my Etsy in the description. If you can't find it in the description, it is Engineer by Design Shop on Etsy. It's all one word, Engineer by Design Shop. Um, and that's a great way to support me and the content that I put out. But if not, just giving me a like and a subscribe is pretty awesome. So thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, and let's see what we can make next.